Everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tube, or welcome back. If this is your ninth season, Nancy Drew Season 2 episode review, hope you're doing well, hope you're staying safe out there. The usual rigmarole. Sorry if I sound really exhausted. It's been a very hectic week for me in my life, in terms of the work, like my actual job. You know what I mean? Sorry about that. So I apologize this week. I'm a little bit tired this week, but however, we are officially now at the halfway mark of Season 2. Apparently, I think this season only has 18 episodes like Season 1 did, so yeah, we're already at the halfway mark. So it's been a very interesting 3 months, going through the first 9. I think we're wrapping up, in June. I believe that's the case. We're going to wrap up in June. I don't quite know yet. They haven't announced finale dates yet because CW's COVID schedule has been very all over the place. Like Superman Lois, it finished episode 5 this week, and it kind of does the spring finale. Then we're going to Supergirl season 6, and then it's going to come back. It's like, oh my god, schedule's crazy. Nancy Drew is still going to be going onward, even though its usual partner Riverdale will be going on hiatus. But enough about that. On to Nancy Drew, where this week we return back to the dynamic. I don't want to call them Wonder Twins because that's DC related, and I want to save that for when we do Arrowverse stuff. So I don't want to say that. I don't know. Well, the twins from the first episode, and then from the last a couple weeks ago, they're back. Well, the sister and now the brother are back. Both Amanda and Gail, which I literally had to burn into my head since they pop up so much in this episode, and I think they're going to pop up for a while because they're recurring this season. They're part of it. They're not part of the Drew crew. They're now going to be morely involved with some of the recent developments with this week. Well, go. Oh yeah, I couldn't hold on. I yawned and I tried my damn best. But no, I really enjoyed this episode. I think it was another one of those fake outs where it was is it paranormal related? But then it wasn't, and well, maybe it kind of is. I don't really know. At this point, the only all that paranormal setup we got back in the episode 6, I believe it was episode 5, was basically we haven't really seen much of that since episode 6. We haven't seen much of the other entities out there, which I find interesting since me going into the remaining bulk of this season, I was really much expecting, we were gonna get spirits of the week or something along those lines, but no, so far no. They've been withholding that, and I'm actually kind of surprised and also kind of impressed that they haven't been able to tap into that well yet, instead of focusing on the characters and using their backstories and their struggles to tell the story. Obviously, we still have supernatural elements with Odette and George, but you know what I mean, the ones that Nancy unleashed. That's what I mean. But anyway, let's go for the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode. Before another yawn kills me. So we begin with... Do we begin with the Sob Fest? I don't believe we begin with... No, I think we do begin with the Sob Fest. Yeah. So after last week... Well, yesterday for the show, last week for us... Bess is very much depressed with the Marvins kicking her out of the family, and Diana basically, you're banned from the family. You're banned. Trying to do my gazpacho impression from Chowder. It's horrible, I know. So she's recovering. Ace is being the supportive best friend for her, just trying to be there for her, trying to say it'll be okay. Time will heal all wounds. That sort of spiel. She's not buying it whatsoever. She's still very much in depressed mode. Then Ace starts getting various amount of calls from Nancy. So he's being summoned to the claw for, obviously we know what's going on. Meanwhile, in Georgia and Nick's place, it's kind of weird. I know they're dating, and I never had this sort of thing, so I don't really know what the parameters are. But basically, yeah, they're I think it's Nick's new house or Nick's new place, and she's just sleeping over. But then I also remember, didn't George, say she was going to spend more time with her family, so aren't they in her room? I'm so confused. My mind's all over the place, but... Anyway, Odette's visiting from taking over George's body. This is kind of Odette's... Well, George, Odette, and Nick's first time interacting with each other since Nick found out. he wants to know what's going on. Odette's basically like just still trying to be like, look, keep your distance from me. You know, I'm not a biggest a fan as this as anyone else, but you know, I'm here now. I'm basically like, leave me alone. I want to be alone right now. And she just goes back to bed, which in the most comfortable bedding I've ever seen. Like, oh my god, I miss my bed. I think I'll go to bed after I'm done with editing this episode because I kind of want to go to bed. But then George comes back in. She gets worried about calls from Nancy to let her know that the shroud is gone. It's been taken, ransacked, and like they're trying to think who could it be, and so Nick and George are the first to get there. They're talking about who the potential suspects can be. They've been very much tight-lipped about the shroud thing, so they're trying to figure out who could possibly be blabbing to someone. Yeah, it's your flirty little ace boy here. Like he admits, like, well, he may have told some things to Amanda because he likes her and he likes to babble. Believe me, I know that part for a fact. And George, I think, delivers the best line in the history of Nancy Drew thus far to Ace, saying like, "Oh, you have a crush, and I'm gonna die." And I'm like, "Oh my god, that is the best line I have ever heard on TV in a while." Like that's got to be one of the pointers. They assume Amanda and her brother Gil might be involved in this affair, so they head off to go find them, living in the motorhome section of Horseshoe Bay. So they go off there. Bess is obviously. Oh yeah, I forgot. Bess is was invited for this adventure, but she's staying in because she's still depressed with the whole Marvin thing. Well, the Marvin exile thing. So she's staying put. So before we I'm gonna wrap up Bess's stuff because she doesn't really do that much this week. Obviously, she's dealing with her own recovery from last week, but she doesn't really do that much. So Bess is depressed. She can't even reach for a bag of imitation Cheetos when Mr. Drew shows up. And I completely forgot Mr. Drew's part of this show since we haven't seen him in quite a bit. Well, at least for me. It's been a long 2 weeks. So he's not willing to kick her out. He's just like, "Oh, no, I'm just here to get some stuff for a case. Don't worry about it. I'll get out of your hair pretty soon." Bess resumes crying, eating Cheetos, imitations, and just, being a depressed mess. Later on, Mr. Drew does come back in, or maybe he never left, but he comes back into the room, wanting Bess to kind of like be his sort of like dummy, like speech dummy, sort of public speaking dummy, whatever you want to call it, as he's about to present the opening statement for his case. But during this during his presentation, I said on quotation marks for a reason. She very much begins to start helping him out, trying to correct him on his grammar, how he should word his speech. Seems like Bess has had some sort of, innate talent for this, and then we just zoom along ahead where it's like, she's very much more into it. Also, apparently, for some reason, she was kicked out of the group thread, which I'm like, that is entirely super weird for them to kick her out. Like, after just one missed majority of an adventure, and I'm like, damn. These guys are savages. But while Bess is helping Mr. Drew supposedly with his opening statement, it turns out there was no opening statement after Mr. Drew accidentally said some words, and Bess knew like, this wasn't a real thing, was it? And she's like, this was. I already submitted in. This case is basically done on my side already, but I was just trying to like motivate you and get your spirits back up. And Mr. Drew just gives some fatherly advice to Bess to kind of like, cheer up a bit, because, she's been through a lot the past 24 hours. And then finally she gets summoned by the Drew crew to finally like get back in there. So I'm like, that's kind of nice. And nice that Mr. Drew's doing something else besides pining over Nancy. So it was pretty cool. I guess he's a pretty good dad after all. Or a pretty good person. I'm admitting it there. You got me there. Moving onwards, then we have, so back to the main premise. So Nancy and the others are heading off to the motorhome area. They run into Gil and Amanda at their residence. Immediately they just barge in, man, where's the shroud? We know you have it, that sort of thing. And they don't deny it. So they know Amanda's got to peer off to go help. Apparently they're also like the owners of this area, because it's kind of like they have to fix things around, I guess. That was the way I was getting it. Amanda goes off to go fix something, and Ace immediately volunteers, and Gil plays the protective brother, like, don't you even dare, man. She's like, no, come with me. I'm like, yeah. She wants that Ace. she made a good choice. She made a very good choice. Gil's not having it, but Gil eventually explains the reason why he took the shroud. It turns out when he and his sister were younger, they only had a mom. Presumably they never mentioned the dad, or at least I didn't hear a dad in the story. But when they were around 6 or something, she died, or she just disappeared, and they assumed she died, but they never found a body, and they never found a motive. But Gil's always had the suspicion that this old guy, this like very this recluse was the one who killed her, and even though he's denied for years, like, oh, I never killed her, it wasn't me, that sort of thing. Gil's still pretty much dead set, like, yeah, this is the guy who killed her, and the reason why he got the shroud is that he's going to use it to resurrect him because he's apparently near death. So once he's resurrected, he'll have no choice but to confess by that point, since he's basically knows, like, oh, he's going to live a normal life now, so he's fucked. So that's Gil's plan. Obviously, we know that if he uses the shroud, George is dead. Because the power the shroud gave George to live is going to go away as soon as Gil uses it on the other dude. So they're trying to bleed him out of it. He's not really budging until Nancy obviously brings up the obvious case sold solution. I will solve your case. I will find out what happened to your mother in less than a day. If everyone had that energy in a cold case department, we would honestly not. We would obviously have way more prison control issues, but we would have gotten a lot more criminals off the street, if you know what I mean. So they split off. Well, not really, because Nancy makes this deal with him. Nick is not happy because like they could just easily take the shot from him right now if they could. They don't want to because obviously George's safety. George is basically like just sitting out of this because like technically they are fighting for her safety, and she's like, no, like can I weigh in? Like I have a say here. Like I'm not just a piece of meat you're trying to save here. So she's got a fair point there. Sorry, I had to drink some tea. I'm very thirsty. So they split off. Nick goes up to make some calls to see if he can find something on his end. George goes along with him. Nancy decides to tag along with Gil, trying to figure out more stuff about this apparent murder. Ace is trying to flirt with Amanda, as well as trying to get some information about the case. So we get a parallel between Nancy and Gil's storytelling with Ace and Amanda. So their story is that... what was the story? Never mind. I forgot the story. Like I legit thought they were telling them like the origin story and like or how this guy's also involved, and that's what they're trying to figure out, so to speak. And eventually, Gil's still dead set on like I need to go see him. Maybe we'll find something at his house, so they don't even need to use the shroud. Maybe they just need the evidence from his house. And Ace and Amanda are now on the case, on the hunt for finding these hiding spots that Gil may have stashed the shroud in. So they're all off doing that. So I believe I'll start with Nancy and Gil first. They're off heading into the house, trying to find a way to get in. They're not really finding any sort of way in. But then Gil decides to set off the alarm for the car, which is one of the and I think the house nerves heads outside to go check on the two of them sneak in, and they have a little bit of a romantic tension going around. Like they're very close, like in terms of like physical nature. Like they're very close to each other. They're really right next to each other. So it's kind of indicated like maybe Nancy's found someone else after Owen. Could be. We don't know. So they head inside. They find the old guy. Obviously, he's he's in a very bad condition. He's not even able to speak. He doesn't even know they're there. That's how bad it is. They go exploring the house even more. They head to the basement where I don't know how they got there. I think it's something broke and something got in. They find the secret room in the basement, which is strangely has all these like portraits of Gil and Amanda's mother around the time she died. Gil uses this as confirmation, like, yeah, he was a stalker. He was a creep. He definitely killed her. We have the evidence now. We can put him away. But Nancy's like kind of withholding, like, wait, it's not as simple as a thing because, there's still no body. There's still no, like, real motive. Like, there's not really much you could put a case on him just because he had a bunch of pictures of her and, surrounding this secret room in his basement. It's not enough. So Gil goes off to kind of do things his own way. Nancy's about to follow suit, but then she kind of, like, notices something in the room. So she heads back inside and she finds out that all the portraits that were in the room had this very demonic background creature. So she takes pictures of all of them and escapes, immediately calling Ace back in to help her out. Meanwhile, I believe Ace and Amanda did some more bonding, and then Ace got the map for the map for where all Gil's hiding spots is. So Nick and George go off to look. I think when they're hitting up one of the locations in the graveyard, George returns back to Oded, and they're having a back and forth about the whole dilemma about that sort of thing. Nick is just not really going along with for it. He just wants George back to get back to normal. But they eventually do find what they're looking for, which is not really much. It's just mementos that Gil probably saved about him and his mom, and obviously his sister. One being their baby book, which is fairly cute. And then I believe, where did we go from there? Did we regroup yet? I don't think we regrouped. Oh no, no. So Nancy and Ace head off to the local gallery to try and find this artist. There's a fancy ass art gallery in Horseshoe Bay, a tourist town. It makes sense, but also I find it really highly improbable, in my opinion. So they talk about that. They ask the curator about the painting they have, that sort of thing. The curator manages to identify the artist who painted it, but doesn't really give them much information other than, hey, we have an artist, but we don't have any sort of contact or anything because they're an unknown. Barry point on the cheek. Nancy decides to buy the painting, which again I do not freaking know. Where do you get this money from, Drew? I don't think you barely get paid the claw. You haven't gotten paid for your dad's services yet, since I'm pretty sure he's still swimming in the mud. Where are you getting this money from? If you're using the store's card again because Nick gave it to you, you gotta figure things better. So then the Drew crew comes back together back at the claw, Bess included. They're looking at the painting. Bess notices that there is another painting behind the painting. So she rips it off. It turns out to be another portrait of Gil and Amanda's mother. This time a much older representation of her, which kind of indicates well, how would they know if she wasn't actually there? You see where I'm going with this here? So it turns out she might be still alive. Just now, as an undercover artist, just painting pictures randomly and sending it all over the freaking world. So knowing this, Nancy knows they have to go find Gil before he uses the shroud, since she also got a call from her dad saying that the guy's dead. So now Gil's gonna go off and resurrect him to torture him for the information. So I think it's just Nancy heads off. I'm pretty sure that's somewhere she fills in Amanda about the whole situation. So they head off. They intercept him at the house, trying to convince him that look, your mother isn't around because she's not dead, but she's not here right now, but she's still alive. Gil for so long does not believe her. It's no, she's dead. He killed her. I need to bring him back so that he can suffer for his crimes. Then between Amanda's backstory and some backstory information, as well as for Nancy's normal. I don't know why my right ear feels bigger. Weird. I gotta check the mirror later. Anyway, sorry about that. Eventually, the both statements are enough to kind of back Gil off a little bit on the whole resurrection thing, and he gives Nancy back the shroud and kind of ending the whole affair. Meanwhile, back at the claw, they're kind of weakly celebrating their victory from George not dying, but Nick is still very confused and trying to figure out this whole dead George situation. To the point where he decides well, we need to put her on a schedule. We need to have her contained whenever she's in dead form, because she does pose a threat to George if anything happens. Which honestly, Nick is making sense. Problem is, he's saying all of this in very thin walls in this restaurant as Odette manages to hear everything and she runs off. I presume that, and then George and Ace I'm so tired. Nick and Bess head into the room, confused, also realizing that Odette took over and ran off. It turns out she also looked up these Tide records, Tide Coast tracking, so that apparently she's gonna commit suicide. So they raise. Also, honestly, when we got to that end of that scene, I honestly thought for a good second oh, that's the end of the episode. Okay, we're gonna end with a cliffhanger there. Then I realized. Ooh. Not my yawning, but oh damn. What was I gonna say? I forgot what I was gonna say. Damn it! I had a amazing zinger and it just flew out of my head. Oh no! Wait, no! Wait, I don't remember. So I thought they were still I thought it was the end of the episode. Then I realized, oh shit, there's still 10 more minutes left, so we're not done yet. So we come back. Nick and Bess run at flash speed, no pun intended, to stop Odette. Odette's only motivation is just so she could be back, with her loved one. Nick and Bess are trying to talk her out of it, trying to jumping off, since like not only is she killing herself, she's killing George, and that sort of thing. And then Nick pulls out the card like, if you kill her and yourself, I will kill myself too, and I will haunt you for the rest of my life. And Odette's like, fine. And she switched it back to George, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this ghost / spirit is insane. We need to get her back home. And then I believe the next morning, Ace is doing his Ace thing, and he's like deconstructing all the paintings, in which he finds a bunch of old newspaper clippings, so it could hopefully determine where this painting might have originated from, or where things might have been. So she's trying to figure that out. Nancy's kind of like teasing him, like, oh, because you're doing it for Amanda, because you're dating her now. But Ace said, no, we're not dating yet, but like, he is doing it for her, like, yeah, low key. And then Ace also brings up the fact that, well, you also have a thing for Gil, and she's trying to deny it, but like both of them are like, yeah, they both like the siblings, and they're probably gonna be together at some point. Well, at least one of them is, and I'm so happy. But we'll get to that in a moment. Gil shows up. I was initially expecting just to say thank you to Nancy, but no, he just goes into the booth, orders a freaking piece of pie, and then Nancy just sits there to console them on their most recent revelations. And then I believe the episode ends with Ace walking with Amanda about everything that's happened. Amanda's thanking him, and then Ace is like, look, I know you're dealing with a lot, but if you ever need a place, if you want to know where you could start looking for your mom, I got a starting location. And of course, Amanda's smitten by this because of all the effort Ace has been doing. They share their first kiss, and I'm like, thank you, God. Ace is getting a woman. And then the episode ends with apparently... So it wasn't a brother, it wasn't a sister I thought he was reaching out to back in episode 5. It was actually his brother, who is now texting him. So it's like, give me the Ace episode. Give it to me. And that ends this week's episode with Ace having now a girlfriend, and now also figure out his brother wants to get in touch with him. Where will that lead? We'll find out next week. So yeah, again, I really did enjoy this episode. I really did. I thought it was like one of the strongest, funniest episodes of the show yet. I'm very surprised that it didn't use any sort of like real paranormal, supernatural elements to tell their story. This was mainly just a character piece, and just even exploring more about Amanda Gill, who are already becoming really nice fits to this Nancy Drew world. So yeah, I can't wait on that. That was awesome. Will they join the Drew crew proper? I'm not really sure. I don't think they will. I think it's just going to be this core 6 for now, but who knows? We got the season 3 renewal, so like anything can happen. So we'll see how that goes. But overall, I really did enjoy this episode. I'm very curious to see how George and Odette is going to continue this balancing act even further. Will Mr. Drew do anything else to the plot besides helping out the other characters? I don't know. We'll see what happens. So yeah, I give this episode 2 thumbs up. And obviously you can tell by my demeanor and my stamina, I'm very tired. So I think that's going to do it for me tonight, everyone. I apologize. So if you're unaware, this has been What's with the 2 from ActionX. Reviewing every episode in the 2nd season of Nancy Drew. If you want to know what we're doing overall, What's in 2 besides our Nancy Drew reviews, we're doing Walker episode reviews each and every Friday morning after a brand new episode on Thursday nights on the CW, or free the next day on the CW app. We're currently in a little bit of hiatus on that. So tomorrow will be the 169th episode of What's on the Tube. I cannot wait for you to see this. We are doing Zane's The Jump Off Memories. So stay tuned for that. That's already been recorded. It's been edited. I can't wait for you all to see it. That'll be tomorrow night, because it is going to be a very adult reviewed show. So that will be a nighttime thing, so it will not be out in the morning. So it'll be Friday night tomorrow, but then next week we'll be back on our regularly scheduled Friday morning broadcast. We're also doing Rookie Season 3 episode reviews each and every Monday morning after a brand new episode on Sunday nights on ABC, and then on Hulu the next day. We're back this Monday. The hiatus is over. We're back. We got at least 4 straight weeks of rookie new episodes, and I'm so freaking happy. I'm very excited. Also, yeah, I'm still very tired, but hopefully Sunday will not be that tiring for me. Hopefully, because I'm gonna bring the A game for that. I'm gonna bring the A game. But if you don't care about Nancy Drew, you're in luck. We'll be back next week with another episode review as we tackle on now the second half of season 2. At least in one of these episodes, we're gonna get that Tom Swift backdoor pilot episode we keep hearing about. I don't think it's next week, because they would have promo the hell out of that. I do think it's soon though, because normally when I know backdoor pilots, besides Arrow, the one I know about Arrow, they try to do it like a little bit before the season ends, so that they have time to like still continue the story properly without interrupting anything. So I think it's going to be soon. The next 4 weeks, we should get that episode. I don't know. I haven't read descriptions yet. I haven't read anything yet. So we'll see what happens. But also, yeah, I haven't really talked like if I'm going to do the Tom Swift show, if that gets picked up. Because the thing is with the CW right now is that they've been renewing a lot of their shows. They picked up 2 new shows, and there's still a lot of other stuff they have yet to renew. So I'm very concerned that that Tom Swift might not get picked up, in my opinion, because of that busyness schedule. But we'll see. Stranger things have happened, and if you want to build out a Drew universe, go ahead, because we have the Arrowverse, the Archieverse, now the All-American verse. I'm just tired of these universes, man. I'm just so freaking tired. It's too much work, not enough crossover. Give me more crossovers. But again, if you're unaware, this has been What's in the Tube from ActionX. If you want to see more of us, please subscribe to ActionX on YouTube.com. Ring that bell for notification when our next review for Nancy Drew is live, which is each and every Thursday morning. Like, favorite, and share this review if you want to. It does help us get us out there to other people in the Drew Crew fandom who has yet to discover us. It helps us with the algorithm that I don't even understand anymore, as well as everything. All the sharing is for free, as well as follow us on Twitter to stay up to date for the channel. Follow us on Twitch for any streaming if we ever do that again. And for all you Drew Crew fanatics, I'll see you all next week. But until then, let me know in the comments below, what did you think of this week's episode? I love to engage with you. I love to talk to you about the episode. Please. I don't say like a please, like I'm begging. I'm just saying please, because like I like saying please. Stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.